Hey, welcome back. In this video I will be repotting this corkscrew hazel Corylus avellana Contorta into a smaller pot. This pot here is far too big for this slender and almost straight trunk. In addition, this is way too big, so I will be reducing the size of this tree. My general idea was to remove all of this, but as an experiment I will perform a wedge cut here and bend this down to bring it as low as I can. We'll see how much I can bend the whole thing. It is very brittle and it suffers a lot of dieback, so this is an experiment for me. Therefore, if any of this breaks as I try to bend, I'll still have what I originally planned for. So we will see how it goes. I will style it and then repot it. The first order of work will be to clean all these dead and brittle branches where I don't see any buds starting to grow. The buds now are starting to become green and almost ready to open, and it's not a tree that is has very profuse leaves. The leaves are sort of big, so this is the type of design which you have less ramification for now and bigger leaves, but with time hopefully this can be increased. What we really want to play on the design is this contorted nature and try to make a crazy design with it. This is definitely not your standard bonsai. So let's start with the cleaning. I'm leaving always a stub next to an existing bud which is of equal dimension as the of the branch I'm cutting. Wherever I see dieback, I'm always seeing buds at the base, so that's a good sign. The fact that the tree is starting to wake up now in my greenhouse is a bonus, as it allows me to really see what is dead and what is not. But this is the sort of tree that I can imagine that I will have dieback all the time. We will see how it develops with time. The container where it is on really doesn't work. I'm thinking of either this oval instead, or this crackled round, which is smaller, or what I think is my choice is this red round, which is smaller, more proportional to the trunk, and with an interesting color to complement the green of the leaves. Now we will do the wedge cut here. Because I'm working alone, I need to do certain things that I wouldn't have to do if I were not alone. For example, these rubber gaskets that I'm placing here to protect where the guy wire will be placed, I attach them and I hold them in place with a piece of wire so they don't fall as I'm trying to exert force on the tree and so on. So I put already the top of the guy wire attached here, and the idea is that I will do the wedge cut here, and if for some reason this breaks or it doesn't or it doesn't survive, then we have this as a leader for the tree, and so I have this fallback safety mechanism with this tree. Here there is a bit of dead wood that I could attach a screw to hold the guy wire instead. If I see that this is not holding because of the angle, it may slip up continuously, I will put a screw here on this already existing piece of dead wood here. So first we'll do the wedge cut here, and the tree is starting to wake up, so it's a good time. And it's the first time I try a wedge cut on a deciduous tree. I know that it can be done. I don't know about this specific species. For the wedge cut, we will use the saw. Mine one is a Pocket Boy. What's important about that saw for bonsai is that it has at least 22 teeth per inch. So that's how the density of teeth and how small they are, because this allows you to perform fine cuts. For the wedge cut, I will cut less than up exactly 50% of the branch, and it has to be such that when I bend it fits properly. So you have to be careful that one plane of the wedge is placed so that it will match properly on the other plane. If you have one side closing and the other remaining open, then the cambium layers here are on this open side are not connecting, and it's much harder to heal. So this is, in terms of severity for the tree, this is not unlike a failed air layer, in the sense that we'll be cutting away at the cambium, but we're bringing two live cambiums close together so that they can bridge. This is essentially what will happen. So let's get on with it. Let's see if I will not be in front of the camera while I do it. So the first side of the wedge is cut, and now I will cut the second side of the wedge. So the wedge is cut. Now let's see if we can bend it. I think this gasket here will not work, so we'll have to use a screw. That's it. So let's start now pulling. I will actually attach the tree to the base of the table because I want stability here. Let's see where we get now. the wedge cut is closed now. I will put some cut paste to protect it from the elements. All right. Now we'll try to bend a little this bit here, and the correct thing to do if you make two wedge cuts is to make the ones further away first. One thing for sure is that I cannot make a wedge cut and have it exerting force beyond the point where I'm exerting force for the first wedge cut. So if I make a second one here, I have to put the attachment point here. So I'll try to bend this one without a wedge cut, but if I feel that it doesn't want to go, then I'll make a slim one, meaning just a pass of the, without removing the wedge, just making a cut essentially. It's a bit complicated to wire these branches here now that I have this guy wire, but even if I have to cross wire, I will cross the wire, it's okay. We'll see. I'll try to mimic the top of the tree here in the bottom a little bit, so all the things are coming up and down. This is now too straight, so we'll have to bring it down, and I will bring it around. I need a little bit more wire. It's unfortunate that I didn't put it long enough, but it happens. This is okay like this. I'll leave it. If this survives, will be quite interesting. If it doesn't survive, then we have this, and we'll see how to reshape this into position. Okay, so we have essentially a repetition of the top in the bottom, and so this is not a traditional bonsai, obviously, but now we will repot it into that red pot, and we'll see how it goes. We will now proceed to repot the corkscrew hazel here, and I decided to use this pot, which is a round glazed drum pot, and it's much more acceptable for the size of the root ball that we want to have. So the first thing is to untie the root, the tie wires. So instead of cutting on the edge, I'm cutting in the center, so I can straighten them, and when I pull the tree out, it will not be grabbing roots and breaking anything it passes through. So I cut the tree now. The tree is free and it stands up just like that. I will have to work on the points of greatest limitation first. So the greatest limitation here is the edge, and there are some thick roots here that will need to be dealt with. But even in a year, there is already circling roots here. So this tree is already in domestic bonsai soil, but we'll have to work the roots, and this is the right time to do so. Another good time, depending on your climate, is late summer. The problem with repotting in the spring in many places, in Montreal included, is that the spring is very unpredictable, and you can have a very cold and wet spring, which is definitely what you don't want for a newly repotted root system. In late summer here, the temperatures are starting to go down, and even if you're in full leaf, it's not detrimental for the tree, as you can see in several videos that I published last year performing late summer repotting. Now, many people are absolutely against late summer repotting. In any cases, some people are in favor of late summer repotting for mugo pines, let's say. It all depends where you are and what the conditions in your place are and your level of technique. I repotted fully pot bound Japanese maple trees last end of August, and they did not suffer in any way. They were just as if nothing had happened. Other trees I repotted in late summer, and that actually saved them. But I repotted many trees, and the jury is still out for the full scope of that work. But what I would say is that in most cases, late summer repot offers a second complementary opportunity for repotting, and it makes sense through a number of reasons. Now in the spring, the needs of the tree are ramping up at the same time as days are getting warmer, if you're lucky and you don't live in Montreal, and this creates a lot of requirements for the tree that you just finish cutting the root system very severely. So in late summer, the requirements are less, depending where you live, and the root system doesn't have to try to allocate resources to both root growth and foliar growth, because foliar growth is already done at that time. So the main problem here is that there are some thick roots going around and it's very hard to untangle them. I'll do my best here. This tree has a very poor nebari. I see here a main root that was cut and it produces side lateral roots, which is good. That root. This there is a big root here with very little ramification in between, but it has some lateral roots, at least one lateral root or two right here, so I will just cut it here. Then we have, in terms of limitations, we have at least one more big root here. This will not be a repotting where we fix all the problems of this root system, but we'll deal with some at least. Now we have another big one here that we need to do something about, figure out where it's coming from and where it's going before we cut. So it seems to circle back. When we're repotting, it's important to take the time and do things right, because this is not a situation to be taken lightly with a tree. It's a major operation, so if we can do it right and not have to come and redo it next year, as is the case here today, it's better for the tree. So another major root. So I'm trying to sort out some of the roots where they grow. This sort of very poor root system is what you get with nursery stock usually, and there isn't much you can do about it. I'll cut this bit here. So it's a process of many years to correct it on a nursery stock. I will take a chance and remove a few of these very high roots here to bring the plane of the planting of the nebari lower, but it is definitely a risk that I'm taking with this tree. So I decreased considerably the roots, and there is one more here that I will remove, probably this one. On the top, and that will be it. This is a big one, but so I took a big step here today to improve the nebari in this tree, and it's not the final step, but we'll see if it survives and how well it does. I cut a lot of roots, and we will see if the tree recovers. Hopefully it does. But it's the sort of tree that, if it is to have a chance from nursery stock, we have to improve the nebari. Okay, now this is how it looks, the root system. We remove all the major issues. There are still many problems that I hope to be able to deal with in the future if it survives. But for now, I don't feel comfortable doing more than this. Now that we know how the root system looks, we can think of tying strategies. And there are two major roots here that I can use as attachment points, here and here. This pot doesn't have a preferred front. The only choice that I can make is if I want to show as a front somewhere with a feet opening or not. I think I will show the front without a feet. And so now with the tree on top, I will mark exactly where I need the holes. Okay. Good. I marked where the front is and where I need to drill the holes based on the strategy that I will use. I have two big roots coming here and here, and they will be attached with wires to this third point, and I will use a prop on the side to prevent wobbling. To drill the holes, I will I'll use a tile drilling bit. And I will take a piece of wood to put underneath. So I made a small mark so I don't lose the positions. And now with one hand I will be throwing water, and the other I'm drilling, but without doing any pressure. I have not yet reached the bottom, but I start to see a little bit of water, so I just reached the other side. So now I turn around, and from the other side like this, we have a perfect hole on both sides without any damage to the ceramic. So we got now 3 perfect holes on the ceramic. So the first thing is to do the So we need 3 wires, and let me check exactly where to where. So we need 2 wires. Okay. We need 1 wire coming here and 1 coming here. So I will mark that on the other side so I remember. So 1 here to here and 1 here to here. Yeah. that is it. So now with my galvanized 17 gauge galvanized steel wire that doesn't stretch and doesn't break, we will do that. So about this much leeway on that side and this much here. So that's one wire. Perfectly straight, no slack that goes there. 90 degrees. So it's perfectly straight. In this tree I will use 100% Shabazai, which is the equivalent of Akadama. I choose not to use an aeration layer. There are a lot of controversy whether it's really needed or not. I don't think it is. But it doesn't hurt to have it. I'll make a small mound here in the center. And now I'll bring the tree. And the tree goes like so. Once I put wires through roots, if there is a danger that it may come out, then I will twist the edges of the wire so it gets stuck and cannot come out anymore. I'm not trying to stick all the roots right now. I will pancake them with soil so that each root have space to develop. Before attaching, make sure to look at your tree from all angles, from the side, from the front, to make sure that it's exactly where you want it. It's very hard to twist after, so it's better to cut and twist at the same time. This tree is fully attached, it's not moving anywhere. Now I can finish the repot. And now I'll be layering the soil and chopsticking. So there are a few roots, fine roots sticking out. I will cover this with sphagnum moss because I don't yet have at this time of the year proper top dressing. I will then, when the season starts outdoors and I can procure moss and make a top dressing, Then I will replace the long fiber sphagnum moss that is covering this, and I will put proper top dressing. For now it will be long fiber sphagnum moss, which I have here somewhere. I'll check one more time if I don't have any places where I didn't properly chopstick. So for now the purpose of this is to keep the top layer of the soil dark and structurally integral, meaning that it's not gonna be thrown out with the watering, all the substrate, and then we will cover it with moss once we find moss. So it's much thicker layer than it has to be, but it's only to protect the substrate for now until we put proper top layer. Now if you don't have moss, you can simply use sphagnum moss, but then you should grate it so it becomes a thin layer everywhere. This I'm not grating it, I will simply remove it as a whole. Once I will apply a proper top layer, and so it would be too much effort to try to pick up little pieces of grated sphagnum moss. So that's why I'm putting it long fiber. This is the final result of today's work. We set up the root system for a better future. We experimented with the wedge cut. I hope the top survives. If not, we will continue with the other leader, and we will see how this tree develops in the future. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please write it down below. Until the next one, bye bye for now.